All right, we're on. We're live. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the talk show with DJ Gas. I'm your host, Jeff Gatsby Wilson. We're here today with a new friend of mine, actually associate of my friend Arif Khatib. You all know him. He's been a guest on the show and is a good friend. Today, my guest is Steve Bernier from Oakland, California. He's a writer, director, and film producer. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. A few technical difficulties before we got online, but I'm bringing in a new computer. So hopefully things will go well and we won't have any of those technical difficulties that we had before the show started. All right. So first of all, tell our viewers, man, who you are, where you're from, and what is it that you do?
My name's Stephen Bernier. I am actually originally from New York. I was born in Harlem Hospital. I grew up between the Bronx and Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon, Money Earning guys, you know?
Yeah, Money Earning, Mount Vernon. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I worked with Arif on this new project. It's called Because They Believe. It's a documentary film about the athletes that were not basically, they were not honored the way they should have been.
Absolutely.
I'm a writer, director, producer. Been doing this for about, 20 years or so. And I met Arif in 1999, actually.
Okay.
And it was kind of funny the way that we parted ways about 15 years ago. But he was looking for somebody to produce a movie for him. So he went to one of my friends, a co-friend, Mario Bombino, actually is his name. And he said, "Oh, I know somebody who's actually doing films." He said, "His name is Stephen Bernier." And he said, "Oh, yeah, this is great. I know him. He made my first website, and he also made my logo for my business. So we've known each other for a long time."
All right. Before we get into that part of your story, I really want to start from the beginning. Now, you said you're a writer, director, and film producer. How did you get interested in the movie industry? You know, how'd you get started?
Excuse me. I started in the arts when I was about 7. My mother was a playwright.
Okay.
She worked with the Frank Savella's Writers Workshop. That was back in the 70s. And I was surrounded by artists, actors, actresses, directors, producers, writers, and it just rubbed off.
All right. So now, were you formally trained? I mean, did you go to film school? Did you, have any, apprenticeships to get in the business? Because I'm really interested, in how you actually got started, your first job, and how you got to where you are today. So, how did you actually get involved?
It kind of started in technology. Years ago, I actually made. It's kind of a long story, but I'll make it as short as possible.
Sure.
I was an avionics guidance control systems technician. I made components for aircraft, switch panels, and things like that. So it got me interested in electronics. So after that, I actually started a music business where it's called Strictly Business back in Mount Vernon back in 1975, 76, 77. And I got tired of that. I sold that business off. I had 5 DJs for bands and everything. And then I basically got into the Air Force. When I got into the Air Force,
hold on.
Yeah.
We're going to get to the film. I forgot that you had mentioned you were in the music business. Tell us a little bit about it, because it looks like the beginning of a long and storied career. But after you got out of the avionics business, you said you started a music business out of Mount Vernon. Now, Strictly Business, I know the movie,
Right.
from back in the day. But when you said you started in the music business, Strictly Business, what were you do? Were you a producer? Were you a musician? Were you an artist?
I did all 3. And I had 2 other partners, and what we did was just, throw parties, make money, DJ, and write original music.
Okay, it's all right. So, did you guys actually release anything? Was there a label? Was there a production deal somewhere? Did you actually sign artists and have any music release that we may have heard?
No, actually, I sold it to them because I was doing all the work, and I got tired of it.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, it looks like you're ready to move on.
Yeah, so that's when I joined the Air Force, moved down to South Carolina, got married, and I said, okay, well, what am I going to do next? I'll join the Air Force, and I was planning to become a pilot. But after listening to the pilots, they were not very happy being pilots, getting shot at and so forth. So I decided to get a private pilot's license after I got out of the Air Force. But what actually happened is when I got out of the Air Force, because I was doing avionics in the Air Force, I repaired B-52s, KC-135s. I did that type of stuff. I was in Desert Shield, Desert Storm. And I got out and I basically started working for a company making these guidance control systems. And they kind of did me wrong. I got them a deal for like $250 million in sales in the commercial world, and I got smacked on the hand for it. They didn't like that. There are not very many African Americans in aerospace, and that probably might have helped that happening. But that helped me get into technology and get into music, get into film. I started my first company in 1987.
All right, so you start a film production company based on your love for film and entertainment
and technology, yeah,
and technology. So as you start the company, what is your role? I mean, other than being the owner, what is your role? Technically, what is it you're doing when you start?
Well, that first company actually sold internet websites, e-commerce. I did web commercials. That's how I started, in music videos and infomercials. And that's when I was using a VCR VX1000. It was the first digital camera that came out. I had Adobe Premiere 1.0.
So you're behind the camera actually producing the music videos and other things of that nature.
Yeah, I wrote the scripts. I did everything but get in front of the camera. I did not want to get in front of the camera. I saw how artists and actresses suffered when my mother was a playwright, and it's a hard life.
No, it's a lot of pressure. It is a lot of pressure, a lot of competition. And again, if you were inclined to be behind the camera because you were familiar with the technical aspects of it, it makes sense to for you to play that role, because you have a lot to say. You have a hand basically in everything. All right, so you start the production company, and let's take it from there. What's your first project? How's it go?
Oh, that went pretty good. We actually got to the point where we actually were going to do an IPO and create several corporations, bring it together, but that fell apart. And me being young at that time, I did not know how to legally deal with the ramifications of doing that, pulling an IPO apart. I know how to do it now, but I didn't know how to do it then.
Okay.
So I lost about $1 million.
All right, so wait a minute. You lost about $1 million opportunity. Assets or
assets
into business.
I made a bad mistake.
Okay.
A really bad mistake, but it taught me a lesson. I learned from it, so it was worth it. It was worth it.
Well, there's a lot of success in failure.
Yeah.
And any successful person can tell you that you're going to fail miserably at times, but the lessons that you learn will make you a better businessman going forward. All right, so now that company goes down, you lose money. You still have interest in this industry. You still see an avenue for success, and so you go on. So what's the next step after that?
That's when I started another company called Max Technologies. And that one was pretty good. I tried to get government contracts. And that's kind of when I learned the world of government contracts. The state, they called me and said, okay, we want you to give us some money for this candidate. I said, well, I put in for all these government contracts. Well, I expect to see something. I don't get any response from anybody. So I hang up the phone. 5 minutes later, the phone rings. Guess what? I got a government contract. Just that quick.
Somebody was listening. Somebody heard your plea.
Yeah, but then, of course, they didn't actually make it go through. They just wanted me to send them some money. And I just got a very little teeny weeny sliver of the pie. They just did it to pacify me, I guess.
All right, so I may have skipped a very important point here. Now, you were born and raised in New York. You go through the Air Force and you come out and you start your businesses. Are you still in New York at this time?
No, actually, at that time, I was in California when I actually got out the Air Force.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's when I got my first job as an electronics technician, worked my way up to being an engineer in Concord at a place called Sistron Donner. It was pretty good. Nice. It was a nice place, nice people. It was just not the right place for me at the time.
Right. But California is a place of opportunity for the business that you're in, and obviously that's why you were drawn there. Okay, so you get the government contract. That doesn't really, you know, fatten your pockets or your wallet or your bank account as you thought it would. What's your next move after that? Because now you're still interested in music and entertainment. So,
Yeah.
what's next there?
Chuck Johnson and Soul Beat in Oakland was the black cable channel at the time, and actually I was working with another gentleman. His name we did movies actually together that actually showed on the cable TV station there in Oakland.
Okay.
Chuck Johnson was the owner of the station. I don't know if you've heard of him, but
I've heard that name. I've heard that name in the industry in California. What exactly did he do, and is he most famous for?
oh, he was the first black man to own a cable network.
Oh,
Yeah,
geez. All right. Well, a bit of history.
yeah, a lot of history.
Where was he located at in California? Don't tell me Oakland.
Yeah, it was Oakland.
I
Yeah,
told you I keep hearing about all these fantastic things and amazing people in Oakland, man. All right. All right. So you're in Oakland, you meet this guy. Obviously that was the connection or pipeline or an avenue for you to share your content.
hmm
And you hook up with a partner and you're doing films now.
that's right. Um, and I also was helping them do motion graphics for the news, which also we did a little bartering where basically I would help him with content for a station because I was a multimedia producer.
Okay.
And what I would do is put all of the graphics and animations for the different shows that he had going on there, and and he would basically let me play my commercials on there. So I said, "Oh, these commercials are so great." He said, "They have a whole bunch of people asking for it." So I said, "Okay, well, if you want me to make some commercials for these guys, I'll be glad to do it." But the news guy, his name was I can't remember his name, but anyway, the news director, he was a writer, and we did our first movie together. It was called Talk That Talk, and that's how I really started making movies.
All right,
And
talk that talk. Talk that talk. Is it an urban story? Is it a love story? Is it a comedy? What type of movie was it?
it's a comedy about a gentleman who can't speak, who speaks Ebonics, and he gets rich, and everybody's trying to figure out, well, he's Ebonic, he's kind of ghetto, but how did he get rich?
I just saw a movie, Pootie Tang, with
Mm,
and if you know anything about that movie, he can't. I don't know what words he's speaking, but it gives me the same feeling of a guy who can't really talk, man. All right, but real quick, everybody watching the talk show, DJ Gatsby. I'm here with Steve Bernier. Bernier, am I now pronouncing that name right?
I use the French pronunciation Bernier, but Bernier
Bernier,
is fine.
like Perrier, Bernier.
Perfect.
All right. Well, once again, it's the talk show with DJ Gatsby. We're here with celebrated writer, director, and film producer Stephen Bernier. And he's telling us about his story, his journey throughout the music and film entertainment industry. All right. I just needed a quick plug right there, man. All right. So you do your first film. And, how was it? Was it exciting? Did it go well? Did it, quench your thirst or did it make you hunger for more?
Oh, well, it made me hunger for more. But my problem was getting people to understand that films require a budget and they require money to be made. And the people I was working with, they just could not. Um, they were doing it. They were looking at more of doing it for fun rather than for a business. And I'm
Oh,
a businessman, so I would do things to try to make money if possible.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
I get that part. Yeah. Some people do things for the love, or they do it, for something they dreamed of. But at some point, you have to finance that dream or that love for your art, and that's where the business part comes in, where it takes money to make money or to continue. All right, so you faced with that same situation. It seems like that's a theme and error in your not your personal life, but before you went in the industry, and now you're in the industry, and it seems like money and partners who understand your vision, um, or having difficulties. All right. So the team and that company that are producing the films and your relationship with this gentleman with the cable studio, how does that work? Does things work out? Do you move on? Because I see you, you're bad enough saying, listen, you know what, I can do this bigger and better in another way by myself or with another team. So what do you do after that?
Well, actually, unfortunately, Chuck Johnson passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he tried to sell me his cable network at the time. I wasn't interested, but
Yeah.
looking back on it, I wish I had done it.
Well, it sounds like a great investment. I mean, opportunity because from your background, you had the business sense to run it and actually, be an integral part of the creative process to create content. So, yeah, man. But listen, I had an opportunity to be a millionaire, $1 million advance over some deals. All right,
Yeah,
so what was next, man? What was next? Because
what I did was actually that was when they had the .com bust, where all of the
the
.coms died.
tech bubble. Unfortunately I wasn't invested in that, but I did hear that a lot of companies went belly up, and a lot of people invested in tech at that time, lost
Yeah,
money and opportunities. All right, so the tech bubble burst. I don't know. You're out of a job. You're out of an industry. You're starting from scratch. What happens after that? How did that affect your business career?
I took a break and I went back to school. I actually went to law. I got a bachelor's degree in law studies and a paralegal certificate, and I started doing law for a while to generate some money so I could get back into it. And actually, while I was doing that,
Mhm.
I actually started doing events again, DJing, playing music, doing
Yeah,
TV commercials,
yeah.
infomercials.
That industry never dies. The industry just recreates itself. The genres of music may change. The venues may change. As long as you can stay contemporary, we were talking about this before. As long as you're contemporary, you can see avenues where you can contribute and also, make a profit. So you get back into the business. Um,
And that's why I had the next business, which is this one, strictly business. I mean, Street Dreams Productions.
okay.
Yeah, actually, I formed three businesses. Street Dreams Productions, which is a production company. It has all of the equipment, cameras, lights, actors, actresses, props, everything that you need
Yeah.
to make a movie. I have another business which is called Hypermedia Arts, which is actually the studio, which
Okay.
takes care of all the legal part. Because now I went back to school to do legal, which is because I learned my lesson when I
Was
lost
that
weight.
entertainment? Was that entertainment law or business law? Entertainment law, or just
Uh,
you know?
General law. Actually, I
Okay.
specialize in real estate, and I did real estate for a little while, but it's not my love. You got to do what you like.
Well, you're an entertainer. You're an entertainment business, man. You create content. You're a trendsetter. You got to be where the action is. Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. I get it.
So what I did was I just focused on saving money and getting back into hypermedia arts. I didn't say the third business, which is called so hypermedia arts is a movie studio. Street Dreams Production is the production company, and then the Amazing Music Group is the music company. We compose the music for the movies, and also I have a bunch of artists I'm trying to actually bring into uh, into the light. They're all youngsters, and they're
Okay.
they're a little difficult to round
Yeah,
up.
they're a different breed. They're a different breed, man. I mean, but they have the same hunger. They have the same thirst. Very talented young people, but they go about things differently. They don't really look at tradition. There's a new way. There's a better way of doing things, and that's how they look at it. Now, you mentioned the music portion and the composing. So, and we had about this briefly off camera. You are a musician, and you write and compose music as well as play instruments. Now, are you formally trained a musician, or is this something you taught yourself?
I've done both. I've gone to school, music school, and actually I wanted to actually go you know I wanted to go to college for it, but I decided not to go that route. But
Mm.
I am formally trained. I read and write music.
How many instruments do you play? Because I saw that we did a
Oh,
wide shot of your studio, and I saw all kind of instruments there. What instruments do you actually play?
I play lead guitar, bass guitar, piano, drums, percussions. I played the sax, but I'm kind of rusty on it. I haven't done that in a while.
Let's go to
And
everybody except Owens. It's one-man bands, what it sounds like.
like I said, I learned a lot of instruments because I needed people to play these instruments, couldn't get them, so I taught myself.
Any singing in there? Because I see a theme here. Any
Oh, yeah.
singing?
Yeah, I sing, I write, compose. I actually used to perform for a while when I was younger.
I thought I had bought 1,000 hats and did a million things, man. But all right. So we're gonna keep going here. It's only a 30-minute interview. So you're back to the music. You're back in the music industry. But I know your love is film writing, directing, and film production. So I'm sure you find your way back into that lane. So what really happens after that? Take example.
Um, After Max Technologies, excuse me, Street Dreams Productions, I have my friends. Sammy Lee Hill, he's a producer. My wife, he's also a producer. And my friend Charles Johnson, he's also a producer. The four of us, I almost said three, the four of us actually work together now to make new movies. We have about 15 that we're working on. We have one that's called Angel in the Hood. Actually, we just changed the name to Mentor Hill. It's about a police officer that's actually dealing with bad police in his district, and it is his job to change the way the police help the people and police the people to get rid of all the bad cops. And he has a lot of stuff that he has to deal with. Believe me, because there's only three minority people in this, and the rest are all Caucasian. So there's a lot of drama.
Now, have you found any particular obstacles with distribution and or getting the films out? Because I've spoken to people and I have friends, and they're having a hard, making the films, and or can be a lot in itself. But distributing the films, getting them into film festivals, getting them into streaming services, cable TV platforms, things of that nature. What kind of problems or situations have you been confronted with that aspect of business?
Well, as a rule of thumb, when you're making a movie, development is the first thing that you should do after you write the script. And included in development is actually getting funding and working with distributors. Before you actually should start your movie, you should have a distributor in place, or at least be shopping distributors that will help you put money into your movie to actually make it. Because they don't make money unless they have a movie distributed. So they want you to make movies. You just have to, number one, show that you have work that you can show them that is good and it's distributable, so they'll be willing to give you money. Two, make sure that you use contracts and that you have all the releases in place, because you have to prove to them that they won't get sued by distributing your product. So all of that should be done up front. I could talk to you an hour about how to make a movie and how not to, really.
Okay.
But distribution is a funny thing. But you shouldn't be making a movie unless you have a distributor or an idea of how you're going to get your money back, especially if you're asking other people for money.
Okay. So with your company, what is the main platform that your films are geared towards?
Right now, we're doing video on demand. We're doing Amazon Prime. There's other companies like Netflix and so on and so forth, and there are networks out there that you can see on TV, cable networks. They all work differently, but put it in a nutshell, they're all distributors.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the point I was trying to get to. So, I'm definitely listening, man, and learning about the business aspect of this. And it's very, very interesting. Everybody still, it's DJ Gatsby, man. We're a little away from the norm. I'm in a different lane, talking to this writer, director, and film producer, Steve Bernier. I'm going to get that name right, man.
That's perfect. That's right. That's
I'm going to get that name right sooner or later. All right, so I'm going to give you a moment later in the show to talk about your latest films and what people can look for you and what works you may have. that they may be familiar with. But now I want to talk about Arif Khatib and Because They Believe. Now, you earlier you mentioned how you met, but how did you actually become a part of this project? As you're the producer or director of this film.
Yeah, actually, I'm a writer, director, producer on this film too,
Okay.
and Reef is the executive producer, and we did this together as a team.
All right. So let's hear it, man. How did you become a part of such an integral part of this project, the film Because They Believe?
Yeah, like I said, my common friend Mario Bombino, he's a filmmaker, and what he told me was he needed someone to make the film, which happened to be Arif. But Arif had 27 of these 1 hour tapes. I don't know if you remember the old DV tapes. They like,
Actually, I do.
yeah. Well,
Small
those
cassette
are hard.
tape. I know.
Yeah, those are hard to find a machine to actually play, much less transcode. And
Okay.
I just happened to have a couple of them. So that made life easy. I started looking through it. He said, okay, can you look through these 27 and maybe transcode them so now they can be edited? And that took me literally about 3 to 4 weeks because it's 27 hours of tapes is a lot.
All right.
Um,
So you came on originally, um, editing the footage that he already had, was in possession of.
yes,
But
and
obviously, your work is far from done. Actually, on a project, I'm sure you wear many hats from what you told me. But that's how you came onto the project. Now, what was it about the project that interested you, or that had you excited about being a part of it?
telling the stories of these athletes that no one's heard them. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the stories are amazing, and the only thing that I feel bad about in doing this project is that I didn't get the chance to show tell everybody's story because there are so many stories in that I could make this a mini series easily.
Okay. So
I
this
mean,
this
this has
this
really,
Asbury probably has a lot more
yeah.
footage, has a lot more people to spotlight and introduce to the sports world. Yeah, I saw private screening of the film, and yeah, I was amazed at some of the stories and some of the people, even the athletes that I was familiar with. I was amazed about the behind the scenes struggles that they had just to train, just to try out for the Olympic teams or college teams and things of that nature. Um, you obviously have learned a lot about the athletes, but my main takeaway was the racism and the discrimination that was a part of the sports community that allowed these people to be disenfranchised the way they were. Modern day sports still, in a lot of ways, um, carries a lot of that same stigma as where talented athletes, no matter what race, creed, or color, are still having trouble finding their way to these opportunities. Man, what do you think about that? After watching the film, the message that it actually gives. How do you feel about that?
I feel that the message needs to be told and their stories need to be shared. But I think the most important part is the message that they gave after, basically saying this is what needs to be done.
Sure.
This is how we should change it. We give these people power to control their destinies, run their businesses.
Yeah.
Like Tiger Woods, he doesn't just want to hit the ball and walk the golf course. He wants to own the golf course. He wants to shake hands with the guys that come there. He wants to make the money. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I get that part. Recently, the NCAA had made it afforded athletes the opportunity to market themselves and get a piece of the pie from the college sports conglomerate, which is actually what it is. What do you feel about that legislation and how it's going to affect young athletes' lives at this point?
I think it's a double-edged sword.
Okay.
I think it's good that now that the youngsters can get the money up front, and they need it, and they shouldn't have in the past, I think, not been able to get the money. I don't really see the reasoning behind that. But the bad part of it is some of them may not go to college and get the education that they should have before they, go. So
That's true.
yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, you could be more focused on fame than actually the sports and the industries and the opportunity to get an education and become a professional athlete. I've heard that these young athletes are signing endorsement deals and contracts still in high school. Not even you're not even a college athlete yet, and without proper management or guidance, it could be a problem.
Yeah.
All right, so back to the film. What do you see? The film. What do you see the impact of this film? I'm still waiting, for the release and worldwide distribution because I've told friends about it. I've interviewed Orit twice. Yeah. What are your hopes and expectations for this film once it does reach a worldwide release?
Well, right now we're in film festivals,
Sure.
trying to get larger distribution. We haven't finalized that yet.
Okay.
And basically, it's just to tell the stories. That's my hope, that the world will use this as an educational tool to help to reduce prejudice and bias against people of color. I mean,
Sure.
I know things are changing, kind of for the better, and I hope that'll continue. We've come a long way since the '60s, and hopefully this will help push things in the right direction. That's all I can really pray for.
Okay. Now I understand the film industry, television industry, a lot of other industries have been impacted by the COVID pandemic. I understand movie studios, TV studios, Hollywood, even in other parts of the country, are struggling to get things back to the way they were. What are some of the innovations or changes that have taken place since the COVID pandemic, and where do you think filmmaking is going in the future?
Yeah, that's changed a lot of things. Actually, shut us down for about a year as far as doing production.
Sure.
Everybody's going into a bubble right now. Tyler Perry basically he created a hotel where he had all of his actors and actresses basically stay for 21 days before they start shooting. Everybody's doing the same thing. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said I heard about that in Atlanta, that he were asking people to to be secluded in that little city that he has. Basically, is what it is. It is a city. It's one of the largest movie studios, particularly here in Atlanta. It's very popular, and a lot of content comes from out of there. I've heard about that part. Now, you had mentioned to me about other technologies, animation, digital backgrounds, and imagery that they're using to make films. How prevalent is that, and what do you think the future of that being widely used is? And are you using that technology?
Yeah, it's actually called virtual production, and basically, what you do is you have a large LED screen. It's a giant TV screen behind you, and on top of you, that basically creates the background image that you would see in a film. So you could be on the moon, you could be in your office, you could be wherever, whatever you want to put there, you can put there. And the thing about that, it saves a lot of money because now you don't have
production costs because people have to build sets, you have to film on location. I know a little bit about what goes on. How prevalent is that technology? Is it something new, or it's just something that's starting to be used more?
It is somewhat new. And Disney and the Mandalorian were the first really to use it on a wide scale in production. But right now, there are about 4 or 5 different places that I know that have that throughout the United States and Canada. And I'm in the process of trying to create one for myself here in, of course.
I see another business opportunity. I see another breakthrough for you.
Exactly.
You're on the cutting edge of this movie making thing.
Right. Yeah, technology and film and is basically my thing. So it's perfect mixture. Right. So that's what I'm working on next.
All right. It's only 30-minute show, man. We're going to run over. I'm not worried about that.
Oh.
But Is there anything you'd like to say to your supporters, people who've helped you along your way um, through this process, and what advice would you give for young filmmakers?
I'd like to thank everybody that's ever helped me.
Sure.
Sammy, Charles, my wife, and for youngsters that are getting into this, don't give up. Um, no matter what, push forward. It may not happen the way you want it or when you want it to happen, and it usually doesn't. Um, just keep going and learn as much as you can. And if there are people that are willing to help you, uh, take their advice and ask them if you can help them. That's another way to do it. Because I was an agent for a while. I stopped doing it because so many people just asking this. Well, if you turn it around and say, well, what can I do to help you? It opens doors.
You're bringing something to the table.
Yes.
What's good, everybody? DJ Gatsby, the talk show with Steve Bernier. And you've given a wealth of information. I'm glad you took the time out to tell your story. Very intricate, a lot of twists and turns. It seems you were persistent at every phase. Not always successful, but you learned and you continue to grow as a filmmaker. So, what can people look forward to in the near future from you and your production team?
Well, we have two documentaries that we're working on because I know you're really a documentary guy. You like education.
Well, I like to be entertained, but I like to be educated once in a while too. You got to have a balance there.
That's true. Actually, I have three documentaries coming up. One is called Second Chance. It's about stroke survivors and what to do, how to deal with it. If you have it shows examples of people that had strokes and how they're living now and how they can have a better life. I have another one called Mississippi Massacre at Camp Van Dorn, where they allegedly massacred 1,200 African American soldiers and buried them on the base. So this is going to be really juicy one that I'm working on. I can't wait to get it going. Okay. And that's actually in Mississippi. And we're actually in we're at the point where we're actually getting ready to go down there and actually start investigating. That's the next step. And then the last one is called Soldiers of Color, where in the United Kingdom, they tried to force Jim Crow on the villages there. And the villagers there were, of course, Caucasian. And they liked the black people. And they got so mad at the white troops trying to force Jim Crow down their throat, they actually put up signs that said, "Black troops only." And that's another interesting one. It causes a lot of controversy and actually caused some military problems actually back at the base. And that's another documentary I'm putting it together.
Wow. All right. So for people that are watching who may want to contact you or find out more about your businesses, where can they reach you, social media or websites that they can reach out?
I'm on Facebook. And good question. Just Google my name, Stephen Bernier. It'll pop up, or Street Dreams Productions, Street Dreams Productions, or Hypermedia Arts. I have a website, but they're so long, I'm not going to bother to put it on here.
All right. Well, listen. Once the post goes up, we can add information in the comment section. So I'll ask people to look at the comment section later on to see more information on how to contact you or learn more about you and the production company and what it is that you do.
Yeah, and like I said, for the youngsters, if you need help, I don't mind helping. I give away information for free to anyone. So that's just the way I am. I believe in paying it forward.
And he's located out there in Oakland, California. So all you people out there in Oakland who have film aspirations or just want to learn more, one of the brothers right there in your city who's willing to help and share his knowledge, wisdom, and understanding about the film industry, please reach out to Steve. Again, he is on Facebook. And if you look in the comment section, of this broadcast, which will be on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram TV, you can find out more about Steve Bernier. Steve, thanks a lot. I appreciate you taking out the time to be on the show, man. Very interesting. Promise me you'll come back on at a later date to talk more about what it is that you're doing and the film industry.
Anytime, Mr. Gatsby. I look forward to talking to you again.
All right. So everybody, once again, it's DJ Gatsby Talk Show. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. On YouTube at the DJ Gatsby Show. On Facebook as Jeff Gatsby Wilson. And on Instagram as DJ Gatsby X. All right, listen. Thanks a lot, Steve. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening and stay COVID free. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, you too.